we're back with another installment of the Pals podcast.
Took my word.
I am your co-host, Danny Galarno.
And I am your other co-host, Ricky Liordi.
So what's up?
Oh, what's up? What's up? We had our pal, Mike Brown, on the podcast. If you're from the city of Toronto, you frequent King West, you probably know who he is. Mike's a great guy. We've bumped into each other so many times over the last little bit, and especially over the last few years, kind of out on King West. And he's really transformed his life recently. And this conversation was so meaningful and so deep that I genuinely really enjoyed it and I really appreciate that. I was not expecting it to be, for me and him to be so aligned.
So aligned on so many things, just given how also opposites your life are at the same time.
Yeah, currently our lives are very different.
Complete opposites, but still same values, same views, and still like on the same
wavelength.
Yeah. And it's just really nice. And like, regardless of who listens to this episode, whether you know someone going through something similar that he went to, he's very open, honest, transparent. But I just think it's good for anyone to listen to and kind of, I don't know, appreciate and understand.
100% I agree. I think me and him are heading in the same direction on two very parallel paths.
Which is very fun and interesting to see.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. And I think that's why we both love having this podcast. Mistake me if I'm wrong.
No, you're very right.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was great to meet him and get to know him in a different way. And I'm really excited for everyone to listen to it.
Yeah, it was a really fun one, Mike. We appreciate you coming on. We appreciate you being a pal. And yeah, honestly.
Let's fucking go.
Boom. Actually, first off, congrats. You got engaged.
I did, man. Yeah.
That's fucking exciting. I saw the Instagram post.
Yeah, thank you.
How long have you and your partner been together?
Known each other like 2 years, probably.
Okay.
Wait, so when did you get engaged?
Last week?
No way. Like really recently.
Yeah. Thanksgiving weekend.
Congratulations.
Yeah, man.
So that's not even 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it still hasn't like sunk in. It's just like.
I mean, it won't start sinking in until you start actually planning the wedding.
Yeah, and that's like kind of down the road. We've both got just so much stuff going on right now.
Do you find like some like the first questions people ask you is like, oh my God, have you guys picked a date yet?
Yeah, 100%.
Like as soon as people get engaged, I find like with all my friends, people kept going to them being like, so do you have a date? And they're like, give us a moment. It's been a week. Like, let us like regroup. Like this is a big thing.
The hardest part is that you gotta, so obviously you're still living your daily life. You're still doing everything that you normally do. And then on top of this, now you have a wedding to plan.
At some point.
At some point, right?
Yeah. But we're in a position now in our lives where like my fiance and we've made drastic life changes. So we met each other in passings, like, the King Street Shuffle, and everybody becomes an acquaintance, especially after 6 shots of Tromba and whatever else is going on. And it sounds corny, but there was just always something. We call it like the red string effect, where it's like anything that's for you won't go past you. And we saw each other once like in the park, and I was walking my dog Bruno, and we just kind of like saw each other, and then I just kept seeing her around. Anyways, I went completely ghost. I needed to make a drastic life change, as I said, so like I just went ghost. Had lost a job, jumped off Instagram, like just completely disappeared, man. And I did this like really intense 6-month transformation. And then when I came back, I started slowly coming back on social media. She saw it. She reached out. She was on the same journey as well. And we just kind of met for a coffee. But this wasn't like, I'll admit, I don't have the best past. Part of me was like chasing women. I'll just be honest.
It happens.
And that came with like the party lifestyle for me to like fill that void. So when we sat down for a coffee, it was just so cool because the transparency and the vulnerability, like there's no mask, there's nothing. It's just kind of like, here we are, right?
Do you think the vulnerability came because you went on this transformation? Like, would you have ever been that vulnerable before?
No. Like I was the type of guy before a date, it was like, I'll get there 45 minutes early so I can pound 3 drinks, just so I could have the courage to be able to talk to the individual. Yeah. So again, just with her, it was just, it all came so naturally, and the vulnerability. And then, you know, one of the biggest things that I respect about our relationship is just the communication that we have, right? So it's just, we're able to just be ourselves. But no, man, I don't believe it would have happened. If we had met in our past life, it's completely different. I wouldn't be sitting here.
It's completely different. And it's just funny how you mentioned that, because there are so many couples that we talked to. We had another couple on the podcast maybe a month ago, and they talked about the red string theory as well. And it's just, if you meet at a different time, it wouldn't work. No. And like, I believe some of my past partners just maybe right person, wrong time. Because I was in a different era of my life where I wasn't ready to settle down. I wasn't ready to meet these amazing people. And you did. Yeah. Where it's like, now I'm at a little bit of a different stage where it's like, okay, I think I could meet the right person now. Right? It's just, it's all about timing too.
Yeah. I find like a lot of, like, I'm someone who says like timing is everything. Yeah. And a lot of people go like, oh no, if they really wanted to, they would have made it work. But at the end of the day, I also don't think that's true in all circumstances, because it's just, there's other parts of the life that kind of, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I can't even string words together right now.
It's so tough sometimes, because like, look, everyone says if you meet the right person, timing doesn't matter, but it fucking does. Like, I'm so sorry. Timing does 100% matter. If you can't fucking meet your person at the right time, and you're not super comfortable, and you're not super transparent, you're not super vulnerable, then it might not work. It might not make a difference.
No, and I truly believe that Elaine and I were both at
Her name's Elaine? That's Elaine. My mom's name too.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, love that. My mom's like our number one listener.
Yeah. But it's, you know, we built the best version of ourselves, right? So before, I just always wore this social mask, man, you know? So yes, timing is everything, but I believe things come into your life when you're ready for it, I believe. So
100%.
What I was doing and the life that I was creating, well, what was coming for me was just shit, to be honest. You
100%.
know, it just didn't reap results. You know, I fell knee deep into the industry life, and you know, on King Street, when you manage some of these bars, like, I thought I was a D-list celebrity, man. I bypass every line. As soon as I walk in, you know, it's,
everybody,
hey,
you dap up everybody.
And that's the rush, man, that I like went for. That was the love that I was seeking, right? So to get on a deeper level, it's like, that's what little Mikey was yearning for. That became my community, right? So it was like, I had to switch all that stuff, man, and it was difficult.
Well, let's talk about this journey you went on, because obviously it's not easy. Like, being in the industry, you're working 5 nights a week, give or take. Yeah. And the nights you're not working, you want to go out because you're chasing that, you know, metaphorical high.
100%.
And you're always on the go, always looking for that next thing, and it is a slippery slope that not many people make it out of. You know what I mean? Like, and it's tough. So I don't walk us through that journey, because I'm assuming it wasn't easy, and I'm assuming going on that journey and figuring and finding yourself, it took that. Like, there must have been a moment where you're just like, I can't fucking do this anymore.
Oh, there's many moments.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
Like, I've been doing this dance for, you know, I'm 45 years old. I started partying when I was 17.
You look fucking good. I thought you were like roughly
You're 45?
Yeah, I thought you were like
There's no shit. Wait, what?
I thought you were like a couple years older.
Oh, I'm a 79, baby.
I did not know that.
No way.
Yeah, it's wild, eh?
Okay, so take us through this journey,
Of me, how I look like this at 45?
What's your skincare routine? Seriously.
Yeah. I don't know.
But tell us about this journey, because obviously, like, a lot of people who listen to this too, they know that fucking it is a self-perpetuating cycle when you start going out and you're having fun, and then summer rolls around, then after summer, like, oh, I'm gonna take it easy, and then it's like, no, then it's fucking something else, and it's okay, it's Christmas party season, let's just keep going.
Yeah, I mean, there's layers to this stuff, right? So it's, for me, I never had confidence. Like, just a really quick back history. I grew up with an amazing family. I always say, like, I had a pool in the backyard, barbecues, cottages. You know, I didn't want for nothing. Like, I wasn't, you know, we weren't rich, but we did.
You were comfortable.
You know, we were comfortable. And then it was just, you know, I went into my parents' liquor cabinet like everybody else, whipped up some swamp water, like, I don't know, Drambuie and gin, something disgusting. And back then, we went to bush parties. It was a bush bash, it was called.
Yeah, we fucking know it.
So the moment that I drank, it was like, I didn't know what was going on in my head. I just knew that I like didn't feel good enough when I played sports, you know, but you don't talk about that stuff when you're that young. So then when I started with the booze, it's kind of like all that went away. But you don't think about anything. So then I got into the industry. I think I was probably like 18 years old. Started as a host at Kelsey's Table or Booth.
At Kelsey's, I love it.
Yeah. And then from there, I just progressed into, you know, bartending, serving. And then I moved to Toronto and I've kind of worked the circuit. And I worked in Yorkville and I've worked on Queen and Ossington and kind of all over the place. But if we're going to get specific, to me, at least in my experience, King Street is a beast. Like, I've lived in Montreal, Vancouver, I've traveled to Thailand, like partied in Vegas, and it's this street, at least how I immerse myself in it, it's difficult. So what happened to me was I was managing a bar. We'd come out of COVID. I won't name the bar. It's a very prominent bar. It's right at a corner of King and Portland.
I'm not going to name the bar. I'm just going to let everybody know which one it is.
And, you know, the guys are big in the industry. They're very well respected that worked there. And I felt like I got let into the club, man. Like, this was a dream of mine. I used to watch from a distance and, like, put people on pedestals. And I love these guys still. I respect them huge. They're amazing. But for me, you talk about timing. I wasn't the person at the time that could handle that responsibility of money, you know, kind of that fame that comes with it. And, you know, yeah, how old was I back then? I think that was like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But I had the maturity level of a 15-year-old kid. Like, I just, you know, so you just get caught up into it. It's new, it's exciting, and then you get to know everybody, and people are great. I don't blame anybody. It wasn't King Street that turned me into this. It was just me and my demons and how I dealt with things, right? So I had got off King Street. I went over to Queen Street and worked at another very prominent big restaurant as well, too. So I thought, I'll get off King, everything will be great. Oh, man, it just got twice as worse. I was making more money. I had more responsibilities. And eventually, you know, my boss just sat me down after many talks and was just like, look, you're an amazing guy, but like, this just isn't going to work out. So why don't you take a step back, come back if you want, and maybe be a server? I don't know what this looks like. So again, I believe everything happens for a reason. So what I thought was the biggest negative in my life, because that became my identity. People literally knew me. Like, that's Mikey from so-and-so. Like, I wasn't Mike, right? And I took a step back and I was just like, okay, it's sink or swim here now, man. And that was it. I just said, like, I'm tapping, man. Like, I'm done. Like, I'm in my 40s and I'm running around like I'm 22 years old still. And it just, the biggest thing for me was the booze stopped working as well as the other stuff that I was doing. And I hate to say this, I sound like a pig, but like chasing women didn't fill that void anymore. I was spiritually broken, man. I was just dead inside. And I was like, okay, man, I got to find Mike, right? So I had everything in life but myself. Does that make sense?
Oh, fucking right.
Like, I had a great condo downtown, you know, great job. I think I had respect in the industry until I started drinking.
It's so, and even the way you're talking, it gives me goosebumps, because you know that it's not only you. Like, there are so many other people that this happens to.
Yeah.
And you get caught up in it.
Yeah, you do.
And you get so caught up in it, and then you're chasing these metaphorical highs or these literal highs, and they stop eventually. You stop feeling anything.
Yeah.
And you're just in this kind of downward cycle, or downward spin, and sometimes you don't even know it until it's too late. And then you got to wake up and you're like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, and that was the hardest thing for me, because it's everything that I knew for so many years, right? Like, industry life. So now I have to look at it and I have to say, what do I do? Like, I can't go back in and work in a bar. Like, can I? Can't I? I don't know. Like, you know, every time I do it, I just seem to get screwed up, man. I do really, really well when I'm working and when I'm good, but then for me, I don't know, as you get older and in your 40s, like hangovers aren't like a couple of hours in the morning and you drink a Caesar. Like I'm knocked out for 3-4 days. I'm emotional,
The Sunday scaries.
Yeah, the
last a little
Sunday
bit longer.
scaries. I
The
watch like
weekend scaries.
some pet adoption thing on TikTok and I'm bawling my eyes out. I'm like, oh no. It's not a laughing matter, but it's just
No.
yeah, that's what happens.
What did the journey to getting to you look like? Like, what did it? I know everyone. There's different ways. Some people quit booze and they just disappear and go to their family home for a couple months. Some people go to rehab. Some people fucking cold plunge. The routine looks different for everyone. What did it look like for you?
I mean, I've been down the journey, as they call it, many times. I've been to hundreds of anonymous meetings. I've sat on couches in front of psychologists and therapists, more than I can count. I've been to rehabs. The thing is like rehabs, they're great. Anonymous meetings, if they work for you, that's amazing. But you also have to get back into society, right? So how does that work? So for me, my journey was, I had to dig deep. I had to say, like, what? Like, most people, the conception is that booze and drugs are their problem. No, they're not. They're your solution. So right there, it's just like, okay, what am I using this for? What am I using this to cover up, right? So for me, I lived in tons of fears, jealousy, comparing. I had no self-esteem, negative self-talk. So what I did was I set a grueling program up for myself where it was every single day, no missed days. Wake up every day at 5 a.m., walk 10,000 steps outside with my dog, hit the gym, track my macros for diet, journal, read 10 pages of some sort of like positive mindset book, and then do a gratitude list. And then I would do a self-reflection at the end of every night. And I still continue to do that to this day, right? Because I mean, I'm not perfect. I can fall short. It's like, it is what it is.
We all do too, but a lot of the things you said too, it's like waking up early is a big one. Treating your body, physically treating your body well, getting your steps in, going outside, eating healthy, all that stuff makes a difference because your body and your mind are so well connected. Obviously, the quitting any substances obviously helps, but then journaling, like I'm a massive journaler. Like I fucking wrote a journal.
Yeah.
But like it's that for me is huge. It's so important. Like when I suffered from depression in 2016, 17, that's when my therapist was like, you need to journal. You need to, and not dear diary, today I feel like a broken man. No, it's just like, yo, this is what I'm thinking. It could be the biggest thoughts, the littlest thoughts, the stupidest, but just write them down. Put pen to paper. Get off your phone, because I know a lot of people do it on their phone too. No. Write it down on a piece of paper and get it out of your mind. Yeah. Anytime you're feeling negative, you're having negative self-talk, write that down, grab the paper, crumple it up and throw it out. If you're having positive thoughts, write it down, circle the words that are key. The amount of times I've written down the word motivation and perseverance in my old journals, and I would circle them like a little kid, just keep circling. When you're coloring books, I used to do this shit all the time. Yeah. Because I believe that like those were the words that just stuck with me. And it's like they still stick with me to this day. Yeah. And it's so important because when you're on these like downward spirals, it is so fucking hard to get out. Yeah, like even, this summer, earlier this year, I got my heart broken. And I basically quit drinking. I was cold plunging every day, working out twice a day, going for walks every day. I was doing all the shit that made my body feel right, because if my mind didn't feel right and my body didn't feel right, then you're fucked. Then you're in big fucking trouble. But if your body can feel right, you can focus on your mind, and the two of them are so well connected.
Yeah, they are. And it takes a while for the mind to catch up, I say, right? So I always say, don't think, just do. So I also say every day is day one. I can't live off yesterday's successes. Like I was a hardcore partier. I need to be hardcore into this. So I had a coach as well too. And I mean, he's a hard ass. And I did a workout routine and got to speak with him for 90 days. And he was very tough, man. He just called me on my shit. And he was just like, he taught me a lot of things, right? Is like, you need to have purpose over pleasure. Let regret be your guideline, So he helped me like tap into, I guess, the consciousness of like, how do you do all this? Because I find so many people, and this isn't a knock on anyone, but you can read every self-help book that you want. You can watch, every podcast of self-healing and whatnot and stuff like that. But until you start putting in the action or living it, you're not going to see many results, right?
Did you have any like outside motivation to kind of make this like lifestyle switch, or was it truly like just for yourself?
I mean, the job's got to be a fucking kick in the ass.
Yeah, I mean,
that's kind of an outside.
Yeah, like anything good that I had, I was just throwing it away anyways, right? Like the money that I was making was drinking and going on my nose. You know, like you'd mentioned something about paying a bar tab. Like that was me. I was a people pleaser. I wanted everybody to like me, and I was going to be the show at the bar. It was just like, oh man, Mikey's here. Like, let's go, buddy. You know, and I prided myself off that. But I think in the past, yeah, when I'd lost things, it was like a cry for help. This time I knew that there was something different. I was just like, when you're like spiritually broken on the inside and you're just like, oh man, like I have what's called a healthy selfishness today. So it's like, yeah, I did this for me and only me. Because if it's not for me, then nobody else is gonna, you know, I can't do this for my mom. I can't do this. Even today, like I get up early and I tell Elaine, like, I have to continue to do this or you don't get the best version of me. And that's selfish, right?
You sound like Ricky right now because it's like that is like what Ricky says all the time.
People all the time, put yourself first.
You have to.
And if you put yourself first, I will benefit just by being around you.
Absolutely.
And if I put myself first, you will benefit just by being around me.
Yeah.
Because when I'm the best version of myself, truly, I'm fucking unstoppable.
Yeah.
And there's nothing I cannot do when I'm the best version of myself.
Yeah.
And if you're just be around me and good shit will happen to you too. If you're putting yourself first and you're around me and I'm putting myself first and I'm me, man, good things are just going to happen. Like, we always joke, like I always say I'm like one of the luckiest people ever just because I take care of myself. I put myself in positions to get lucky. Mm-hmm. And it's because I'm like a little bit selfish in that sense. But I like that. You said healthy selfish.
Yeah, healthy selfishness.
I just say selfish, but healthy selfish. I'm going to start using that.
Well, the power of no, for me to say no before, I was like, I don't say no. You know,
that's me. I'm like really, that has been my goal for the past couple months.
Right.
And I think at the beginning of this, well, I guess end of September, I started prioritizing me first.
Yeah.
And I could say I saw a change in myself and like things were just going better and I was happier. And I feel like I'm still on that. But like, it's just, again, it's not every day is perfect, but I'm working.
It's a journey, right?
It's a journey. Like I'm working, just being able to say no and prioritizing myself.
Yeah. And that for me, like the most important thing for me right now is self-love. Right? So with self-love comes confidence. With confidence comes a set of values that I live by, and I can set boundaries. So if this doesn't align with my values, then I'm going to say, no, I don't hate you. I don't think you're a loser because you're going out to drink on King Street. That's just not me, right? It's just not, and that's okay.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
There's nothing wrong with saying no. Like, and I've told this to her. We've had this conversation many times where it's like, you don't have to do anything. No. When people, my mom is the most guilty of this. They go, you have to do this. I was like, well, let's back up for a second. I have to go to work every day or else I can get fired.
Right.
I have to go to bed every night or else I can't function the next day. I have to eat or else I will die. And the work I don't technically even have to. Whatever. But when my mom like, oh, you have to go because so-and-so, I was like, first off, don't tell me what I have to do.
Yeah.
You want me to do this. Yeah. And I don't want to. So I'm not going to do it. Yeah. Oh, but that's not nice of you to do. It's like, sorry, says who? I'm prioritizing myself. Like me and one of my exes, like my long-term ex that I dated like years ago, she would get mad at me if I was late for dinner, like coming back because we would cook dinner at my condo. And I'd be like, no, I stayed at work late. I got to go to the gym. She's like, no, skip the gym. I'm like, no. She can't skip the gym one day. I was like, yeah, if I skip today, then I might skip a week from now. And then a week from now, I might skip a couple days after that. Next thing you know, I stopped going to the gym. Mm-hmm. And that's one of those things that brings me so much fucking peace and joy and like helps center my fucking mind every day. Yeah. I go to the gym every single day.
Same.
Or I move, some sort of movement, right? Yeah. Like I will do something because that's how I center my mind. That's how it's like I explain it to people that drink coffee every morning. My dad's a heavy coffee drinker. And he'd be like, if I don't drink coffee, my day's ruined. I'm like, if I can't go to the gym, if I don't have an hour to go to the gym every day or to move, my day's ruined. I won't be productive.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Even if I'm deathly hungover, I will make it to the gym. Like no questions asked. I will be, because that's what'll sober me up. I'll have a shit workout. but I'll put on my stupid workout clothes. I'll get on the Stairmaster for 30 minutes. I'll sweat, and I will lift the smallest pounds and the smallest weights in the gym just so I can be there to just get my mind straight.
Well, you showed up.
Yeah.
Right.
And a bad workout is better than no workout.
Yeah, 100%. And you're showing up for yourself. That's what I love about the gym is, yes, there's community in it. Absolutely. But no one's dragging me there. You know, it's not necessarily a team sport. Like it's, you know, that corny cliche saying, it's me versus me, man.
It is.
And that's it. So, I mean, when I go in there, the byproduct I say is, okay, yeah, you get in shape and you might look pretty decent with a shirt off, let's say, and that's amazing, right? But at the same time, it's like it gives me mental clarity, builds confidence, builds my discipline. It gives me, you know, something to look forward to. It's meaning and purpose. Yeah, I'm like you. There's days where I'm like, oh man,
this is shit work.
I don't want to.
But I made it. I made it. Danielle, I want to ask you actually, what's one thing you do when you're not feeling your best that brings you back to you?
I don't know.
You don't have like the one thing that you do? Maybe it's like, I don't know, go for a walk or journal. Oh, you don't really journal.
No, I don't journal. I think it just depends where I am, where I'm living. When I was living downtown, I used to just go on walks, put a podcast on.
Yeah.
That was like my favorite thing. Alone
now, like,
time.
when you're with your family, so it's just like hanging out with your family?
When I'm home with my family, unless it has to do with my family.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Mike, I want to ask you though, on this journey you're on, what was the toughest part? Well, 2 questions. What was the toughest thing? And when was the toughest moment? Was like day 1 the toughest, or is it like day 10? Is it 30 days in?
The hardest. Okay, so what was the question again? The first one, sorry.
What was the hardest part about this journey that you went on? And when was the hardest like moment? Is it like the day 1 starting is the hardest, or they say like to kick a habit it takes 10 days or something?
21
or 21.
21. Yeah.
Like even running a marathon,
Yeah.
they say the 30-kilometer mark is the hardest part.
So in the beginning, you have what I call the gift of desperation. So if you're going to quit, you're going to be at some sort of mental rock bottom, or you wake up with this lethal hangover, or in my state, it was like 11 a.m., birds are chirping, and I'm in an Uber like freaking out.
I know we laugh. We should have laughed, but I feel like everybody knows exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I'm just
People
like,
listen to this are like, yeah, fuck it. We've been there, done that.
Man, I'm a degenerate, dude. Like trying to sneak past my concierge. Anyways, the hardest part for me was I had to look at myself. Like I blamed a lot of people, man. Like I deflected.
As most people do.
Yeah. And it was like, oh, it's the people that I was hanging around. Oh, it was King Street. Oh, it was my job. It was my boss. And it was like, no, Mike, it was you and only you. So the hardest part was to come to that honesty of like looking that person in the mirror and being like, I just had to say it. I was just like, you're a piece of shit. Like, bro, like, what are you doing? And then the hardest moments, they're not necessarily in the beginning. So it's easy to gain. It's harder to maintain, I find.
Agreed.
So when you get into that 30, 60-day mark, you've been at the gym, you're eating healthy, your mind's cleared up again, that voice in the back of your head, at least for me, that ego pops up and tells you like, maybe I'll just go and have a soda water on Thursday night, at Petty. It's a beautiful summer night. Man, nothing's going to happen.
Well, because you're not only like you're feeling good, you're as healthy as can be. Like you have not felt like this in how long? You're like,
yeah.
What can I do now? Like, let me just go try.
So a reward button goes off in me. And my ego is telling me, like, you deserve this, Mike. Those were the hardest moments. A buddy of mine called me once. I was at home. It was like 10 o'clock at night, and this happened. And he was like, yo, just come meet me at Petty, and we'll just like have a soda water, bro. Just come hang out. Because another hard part was, and it's no disrespect to them, nobody calls you. When you just go ghost and you stop living that lifestyle, no one necessarily notices. There's kind of like, oh, I don't know, he's working, whatever. But he called me and he was just like, come meet me at Petty. And I was like, yeah, okay. I hung up the phone, put my jeans on, looked at my dog, and dude, I dropped to my knees and started bawling my eyes out, man. I was just like, how can my mind do this to me, man? Like, I'm a lunatic. I just worked so hard for like 60 days. I feel great. And I think that I can go sit, like, why? So that was another growth opportunity for me. Like, you talk about pen and paper. It was like, I did burpees till I like thought I was going to puke just to get that energy out. And then I journaled. And that was a huge moment for me right there, right? A lot of pain, but I say pain is the most spiritual place. I don't look at pain as a negative today. If something bad happens, it's like, well, it's happened. How can I respond to this? There's something that's got to come out of this, right? So, yeah, man.
It's also like the self-reflection too.
Yeah.
Like it's the trickiest part is that if you weren't in the best place, like mentally and physically, in that day, you would have went out and you would have realistically had a couple of drinks.
Oh, 100%.
And it's just because you worked so hard, and like you said, it's like, oh, I should reward myself. You know, I'm going to go out and I'm going to do this. Yeah. And like celebrating little wins is important too, right? Like
it is. Yeah,
it
absolutely.
Is. Like, those little victories are huge and
they're massive.
I've talked about this a lot recently. I stopped celebrating a lot of my victories this summer. And I've done so many amazing things this year that I never thought I would do. Like the last 6 months of my life have been insane, literally insane. And I stopped celebrating the victories. Because I was like, okay, like, you know, I hit a milestone. Like, I got to get to the next one. Got to get to the next one. And it's just, I stopped appreciating the journey.
Yeah.
So, like, these little victories are important. Don't get me wrong. But sometimes you got to say, okay, this isn't how I want to celebrate. This isn't how I want to reward myself. Yeah. You know, and it's tough because, like you said, too, people stop calling. when you're not that go-to guy anymore, like, I used to work in nightclubs, but in my previous life, too.
Yeah.
And as soon as I stopped doing promo, my phone didn't ring on Fridays and Saturdays anymore. Nobody was texting me at 5 o'clock. Yo, what are we saying tonight? Yo, you got a table at EFS? You got a table lost and found? Like, nobody was hitting up my phone. No. And then it's like, you went from being so important on weekends to not important at all.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, now it takes a while for your friends to realize, like, yo, that's not what I do anymore. Like, I'm not going to be there fucking pouring bottles down people's throats till 3 a.m., right?
And what I realize is, like, but they don't know this, Mike. They you know, I gave them that. That's technically who they fell in love with. Like, that's the person that they love to be around. So now when you flip the switch, like, for me, it wasn't just like, I'm just going to like have a Coors Light diet. I'm just going to drink light beer. It was like, no, like I'm done, dude. And most people that kind of like saw me were like, yeah, it's probably a good thing that you stepped away from this. But I mean, I don't even like to look at them as rewards. It's like, I have a life today that, you know, I dreamed of, and it's not materialism. You know, first of all, I have the love for myself. So now I can give that away to Elaine, right? Before, the conception of love was, let me take you out on King Street. And it was like a Goodfellas syndrome, as I can take you through the back doors. I can wine and dine you. You know,
complimentary champagne.
Absolutely.
Oh, Mike, don't worry, your bill's taken care
of.
Yeah,
and it's just like, not to sound like
we get it,
chauvinistic pig, but it's like the boys will take care of you.
Yeah.
They see you with a girl, they're gonna be like, it's all good, man. They'll wingman you, like, without saying anything.
Oh, trust me, we've been there.
Yeah. So now it's just, you know, I have a dog. Like, we're looking to move to another condo, which it's not. Like, when I look at somebody, or used to look at somebody, and, you know, they drive a Range Rover, or like they'd be going on all these vacations and stuff like that, I used to get jealous because I was insecure with myself. And yeah, the Range Rover is cool, or the Porsche, or whatever, the nice watch, and the trips that you're going on. But what I respect more than that is, like, who did you have to become to get that? Like, that's what I look at now, and that's who I want to surround myself with, right? So I'm very cautious of the energy that I let around me and that I give as well too. And there's nothing wrong with people that go out 4 or 5 nights a week still, no matter where you are. That's cool. That's your journey, right? Like, but in order for me to grow where I want to grow, I need to be around other individuals that have already been up here so I can get there, right?
Buddy, you're saying exactly what I say all the time too.
Yeah.
Like, I'm 100% aligned on this.
Yeah.
When I was younger too, I always wanted to be a millionaire. Like, I always wanted millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
This year taught me that I don't need nowhere near that to be happy. You know, like, the money I've made this year is nowhere near that. And I've had one of the best years of my life. And I've done everything I've wanted to do with the money I've made, and it's not even that much. and I'm so fucking happy. I've surrounded myself with good people. I've got good friends. And one thing is like before, again, I used to want like go on crazy yachts and going, it's like, no, like what's the point of having money if you don't have the right people to enjoy it with?
100%.
Like I want to say like one of my favorite questions to ask people, and you can ask any one of my friends that I run into randomly, like at a bar, I'll small talk. Hey, how's it going? What are you up to? I'll always ask, are you happy?
Yeah.
Because that is the most important question to ask people.
Yeah.
Cool. Your job's great. You know, your fiance's beautiful. You got a new condo. Are you happy?
Yeah.
And if they don't give me a yes right away, I look at them like, they're like, yeah, I think so. It's like, okay, well, like, what's up? Like, why'd you? Well, you know I got this promotion, but I don't really love it. And like, you know, the new condo I'm at, like the bills are really expensive. I can't really try. And then they start to deep dive into it. And you're like, holy fuck. Like, maybe all these things that you were, these little successes, these little goals that you were achieving, like, aren't even really making you happy. So what's the fucking point of that? Like being truly happy and truly content with yourself is hands down more important than money, fame, jobs, fucking cars, any materialistic items. And like, you probably figured that out on your journey too, because chasing these metaphorical highs, eventually it gets lonely and it gets boring and it gets fucking depressing.
Well, yeah, it's just I just kind of call it surface bullshit. There's no deep connection, and like, that's who I am as a person, but I was afraid to be that person. Like, yeah, I'm covered in tattoos. Some people may think I look intimidating. I don't think I do, but
you got a friendly face, buddy.
Yeah, like I'm a caring, compassionate person. Like, you know, through all of this, I was able to start like a personal development business out of it. And like my life, I say, isn't about me anymore. Like everything from that day that I stopped doing what I was doing is now a bonus. So I'm just going to continue to build the best version of myself and help others with what I've learned over 20 years of chaos, right? And I found a solution that's worked for me, and I love it, man. Like, I love what I used to think was gangster, right? Like, there's that term, oh, that's gangster. They drive the nice cars, you know, they're popping bottles. Like, I was attracted to that lifestyle.
You're a guy,
right? Yeah. Tattoos, like, damn, man, like, look at these guys flexing. Cool. That's awesome, man. Gangster to me is like being able to look yourself in the mirror, right? Being able to be vulnerable, being able to have that open communication with somebody. Like if I went home to Elaine, like right now, I could tell her anything. And like as a male, it's tough at times because you want that male bravado, that male ego. You're the protector. But it's just like, baby, I got to talk. And she's like, I got you. Like, what's up? Like, so I can... Gangster, you wear all this armor, but underneath it's just like that. That's where the real gangster shit is. Does that make sense?
Man, I literally, you're fucking speaking exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I made a TikTok about this the other day because we had a guy named Samir. We had a Samir on our podcast. He runs a podcast called Jen's Talk. It's like a really big Toronto-based podcast. And it talks about like, what's the right word? What masculinity?
Positive masculinity.
Positive masculinity. And it's about being open and being vulnerable. And the idea that men are tough, like that's a load of shit. And the TikTok I made is like, I've cried 3 times in the last year. And I'm not embarrassed to admit it.
Yeah.
Like I cried when I got broken up with. Like something bad happened to a person I really cared about. I cried. When I finished my half Ironman, I cried. So people think like men are tough. Like, okay, well, like, tell me what's tougher than doing a fucking half Ironman, a 70.3 Ironman. Okay, an Ironman's tougher.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't know many people that can do an Ironman. I really don't. I don't know many people that can run a marathon. Don't know. I don't know many people that can do a lot of the things that I've done that are so-called tough.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know many people that can do it. But men will always be like, oh, like men can't cry. It's like, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
You know what
Tough is being open and vulnerable with yourself.
Yeah.
Having to look yourself in the mirror and be like, yo, like I got fucking problems or I got demons or tough. Being tough is asking for help.
100%.
Like opening up and tell people, hey, I'm not fucking okay.
Yeah.
That's fucking tough. I had to read. So I read my poems out loud to a group of like 70 people. And I don't get nervous. I'm not a nervous person. I'm a very confident public speaker. I was reading those. And at some points, like I'm remembering the emotions as I'm reading them out loud. Like I wasn't nervous. My hands weren't sweaty, but I'm remembering the emotions of when I was writing those. And I'm like, holy fuck, this is tough.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could easily run a half marathon off 0 sleep.
Yeah.
I'd rather run a marathon than have to read that in front of those people again. Because that was tough. Opening up and reading your like most vulnerable moments to a group of somewhat strangers too. Like half the people I knew, but the other half were fucking strangers.
But
That's tough.
Yeah, but what, like, and that's what I respect about like watching your TikToks and stuff like that. It's how do I say this? I don't mean to be rude. It's what made me see you in a different light, because I saw you on
see me on
King.
King Street.
Yeah, and I was just like, okay, like, yeah.
And you
sick
see me
guy,
gallivanting, doing all
super
this
happy,
bullshit, yeah.
like, you know, great guy to be around. But then when I started seeing this, it's like, never underestimate who you're impacting, right? Just because you don't get a lot of views maybe on something or likes or whatever, it's like, you never know who's watching this and just like, damn, man, I needed to hear this today, right? Like, that's why for me with social media today, it's value, not validation. Whatever I put out, I put out. It is what it is. Once it leaves, it's not up to me how it gets received. It just is. This podcast could, I don't know, all of a sudden get 10,000 views. I don't know. It could get 2. It doesn't matter, right? The moment is that we got to have an amazing conversation. And like that book, you have probably had some nights at bars and you've created memorable moments for people because you're Rick. You know how to show up a room. You're, you know, very charismatic and stuff. But that book, the hardest thing and your pain that you put into that book is going to create such a ripple effect and help so many people. Like, that's gangster, bro.
And that's tough.
I love that.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that, like, helping people. I screenshot a lot of, like, when I get really nice messages, I'll screenshot them. I have an album in my phone.
Yeah.
Of like all really nice messages that people have sent me over like the last like 6 months or a year.
Yeah.
And I'm always at fault at this too, because I look at the numbers, because TikTok and social media is a business to me now, and you want to perform and you want to keep growing. You want to get strong numbers. You want to have a good quarter. But then, like, you have a bad, 2-3 weeks. And, like, lately I haven't been having good weeks on social media. But I'm going to keep doing my fucking job day in and day out. And I said this off air. One thing I'm very good at and I'm very talented with is being consistent.
Yeah.
I show up each and every day.
Yeah.
On the days I don't want to, I will fucking show up. There's only one time I've ever bailed on this podcast with Danielle. And I told her, and I was open. I'm like, yo, I'm having a fucking shit day. I can't fucking do this.
Yeah.
You please either do it on your own or we're going to cancel. And I hate, we're almost 400 episodes in.
Yeah.
I've never canceled an episode ever.
Yeah.
I've never canceled one. I refuse to. But that day I was like, I can't do this. It's either we're going to cancel or you're going to do it alone. But other than that, I show up to work or metaphorical work each and every day, and I'm ready to rock and roll, because that is my superpower, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And you, like, even when the numbers don't do well, it could be a video that does 1,000 views, which to me is terrible, but it might reach that one person at that one point in time who needed it.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, I struggle because it is a business and you're like, you want every TikTok to go viral, but sometimes it's like, hey, it's not about going viral. It's about meeting people, helping people, and hopefully leaving like a good lasting impact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's interesting, excuse me, that you say that. Like, my fiance is in the same realm. She's a content creator and influencer. It's so crazy to me that that's a job nowadays. It's
Trust me, I
amazing.
know it is wild.
But we have a lot of conversations around it, because she's like dating the algorithm some days, and I'm like, yo, bro, like, what the? No,
Not that big of a deal.
Yeah, but I have to also understand that it's like, that's her business. Just because, like, I'm not in it and I don't really care about the views and stuff, that is her. But I've always said to her and just been like, no matter what, like, content that you create, how you edit it, be yourself. When you're building a personal brand, people will see right through your shit, man. Just be yourself. That's all that you can do. Show up, be yourself, and however it's perceived is perceived, right? Like, she had one that took off on Instagram, like 3 million views or something like that, and then boom, like, it's gone crazy. But guess what? The thing that I love about Elaine is, like, she's up. She's still grinding every single day. She knows that that's not going to make her. Yes, it's brought opportunities, but again, you can't just ride off of that, man. So it's, I don't know. Like, it's, consistency is key, man. That's the discipline that's in that. You have to continue to show up, right?
So I went for a walk with one of my friends the other day, and she's a content creator as well.
Yeah.
And she said, she's like, why do you think your content, she asked me, she's like, why do you think your content works so well? I said, look, I have, I know my niche. I got my niche. I got lucky. Cool, fine, whatever. My thing is, and why I've grown to the the numbers I've grown to is that I'm consistent.
Mm-hmm.
People see it now. Oh, you got 400,000 followers. You got 200,000 followers or whatever. It's like people forget that I made 1,000 TikToks in a year 2 years ago. 1,000. I posted 3 TikToks a day, almost every freaking day for a year.
Yeah.
People seem to forget that. People forget that on Saturdays, I would literally schedule 3-4 hours for a Saturday, and I'd make 10 TikToks on a Saturday just so I had content. And I did the cheesiest TikToks because that was the trend that we had to do that weekend. That was the one. I would have my friends send me TikToks to make on weekends.
Well, it's also you're putting yourself out of your comfort zone with your friends. Like, let's be real, making fun of you, being like, "Hey, like this is like, come on, Ricky, like grow up." Like,
I was 32
You're
years old,
32 years old,
yeah.
making TikToks. Like,
people are just like, Ricky, like what
get
the
back
fuck?
to work.
And like again, I work for my family business. Like I'm in construction. I have a very normal day job.
Yeah.
And I'm like senior management at this. Like, when I'm at work, I'm like a 40-year-old man. Like I'm, I'm like senior management. People like well respected at thing. And
Well, it's
then
like construction by day.
Yeah.
TikToks about love and dating at night.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the complete
and even
opposite.
like at my office, people are like, "You wrote a book of poetry about love?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Sorry, what?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "You wrote a book of poems?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like, I didn't know you did that. And there's so many of my like people at work that'll see me because a lot of people I don't know on a name to name basis. Sometimes we hire people and whatever.
Yeah.
And then once your phone number's in their phone, it's attached to your TikTok. So then they'll see it. They'll be like, "Is this you?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, wait, what? Like, how, when, what? Like, you do TikTok, you do a podcast, you do this pickleball, you do all these other things, but you're also in the office like every fucking day. I was like, "Yeah," because I show up every fucking day. And people ask like, "Oh, like, when are you going to quit your day job?" Never. I love my day job. I will be there until, I'm not there anymore. But I will be there for a very fucking long time because that's my family business. And I love that. My dad and my uncle are great. Like, it's given me all the opportunities and all the tools I needed to succeed in every other aspect of my life. But it's funny because most people don't know I do half these other things. And they find out, they're like, "Wait a second, like, you make shirtless TikToks?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, I did." Like one of my colleagues is like, he sends it to me, he's like, "Ricky, my daughter sent me this. Like, put on a shirt." I was like, "No, I will not.
Yeah.
I will keep making these and I will keep showing. If you don't like them, cool, don't follow me."
Yeah.
But remember, at work, I'm still senior management. So if you don't like them, that's fine. I can make a new fucking rule if I want to, saying, "Hey, don't look at my fucking TikTok." Like, you know what I mean? Like, no, I'm kidding. But it's showing up day in and day out is the fucking key. Like, even we talk about this with us. Like, there's days where we don't feel like doing this. And there's days where it's tough to show up, but we still show up. And some of the days where we're like not in the mood to record are some of our best podcasts.
Okay, let's call a spade. I'm very quiet today.
Yeah, I figured
Like,
that.
I'm honestly just tired.
Yeah.
Like I'm.
But
just,
some days you're just emotionally tired.
I had like a long week last week, and then I feel like this weekend I recuperated, and yesterday just kind of set me back to being tired again. Long day at work, and like I'm tired, but at the same time, I'm here. I didn't bail. I got to meet you.
Yeah.
And we were even thinking, like 5 years ago, if I met you on King Street, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
No.
But fast forward,
The next
and
time
now
you
we're
guys see each
sitting
other, it's going to be a
here,
very different.
it's going to be a very different conversation
Yeah.
as well, which is like, that's why I love this.
Yeah, and that's we work really well too. Because there's days where she fucking kills it, where I'm like, I'm not in the mood, and two girls just start yapping. I'm just like sitting back chilling.
Yeah.
And then there's other days where we have the boys are shooting the shit, catching up, right? Because it is one thing that I do truly love about this podcast is that you get to sit down, you get someone's undivided attention. And I've said this at least 100 times on this podcast. You get someone's undivided attention for an hour. It's just me, you, her, and them.
Yeah, it's
And
a rare commodity.
Yeah, a
nowadays.
very rare commodity.
Yeah.
You know, like even when you're on a date or something, like still like they go to the bathroom, first thing you do is pick up your phone.
100%.
First thing you do. And every girl goes to the bathroom within the first 45 minutes of a date. 100%. So they can text their friends, "Hey, yeah, it's okay. He's normal." Like whatever, whatever girls do.
Or
in the
save
bathroom.
me, call me, I
Yeah,
need
save-
help.
Well, I've never had that. Hello.
I know he does shirtless
He has
TikTok.
it.
but He's a good guy.
Yeah, surely, yeah. I know his TikToks are cringe, but he's cute. It's fine.
It's actually way more normal in person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's really nice when you get to, especially when you get to see people in a different light. And that's why when you messaged me, I was like, "Fuck yeah, let's do this now."
No, I appreciate it. And again,
I love
we
it.
just kept running into each other. And I was just like, okay, what is going on, right? So then I was talking to a couple of the boys, like from MBH or whatever. And one of the things is just like, just keep asking, like put stuff out there and into the universe. And one of my goals was like, I want to try to start getting on podcasts, just to whatever,
Tell your story.
tell my story, let people know like whether you can share some hope or some of your experience, it's just like it's all good, man. Like to be transparent and to be vulnerable. Like
I also think someone could listen to your story and maybe haven't hit that moment yet of like realization that they need to make a change in their life, and it could be a different way, but they can hear your story and be like, this is my sign to make that change.
And the thing is, we all think we're these unique, amazing individuals, right? You know, what you did is so unique, and what she does is unique, and what I do is unique. When in reality is it's not.
No.
There are probably millions of other people that are going through exactly what you just went through.
Mm-hmm.
You share your story enough times, you're going to change a couple people's lives. And that's for someone who's coming out on the other end like you did, and now with the goal of helping people transform their lives, that's the fucking end goal. If someone messages you one day, like, I heard your story, like it inspired me to shake off my bad habits.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge.
Yeah, and I mean, life is hard. It's because you get sober doesn't mean that it gets easier. If anything, it gets harder because you're learning to deal with all these emotions, and or like you think that life is going to go a certain way, and then it flips the switch on you, and you're like, oh, but like again, you have to choose your heart. Like, okay, if you stay in this life filled with vices and, chasing and these, there's no results. It's just like, blah, like anxieties on Sundays. That's hard. But, if you go into the new way of life, let's say, and you start eating healthy and going to the gym, I mean, it's hard too. Just what are you willing? Like my coach said to me, I was like, oh, I have no discipline. He's like, yeah, you do. And I was like, how? Tell me how I have discipline. He's like, you went out to a bar every single night, didn't you? That's discipline. You just have to switch it into a different gear. So he helped me feel, one, like not an idiot, and just kind of like, you have it in you, man. You're just not putting it. So I find that people that have been through kind of hell in life, once they, I don't want to say get to the other side, but once they've kind of found a passage, they just have so much to give, man. Like it's just, that's why I believe that like everything that we go through happens for a reason. No, like not to get like too personal, but like
I agree.
If you didn't have that heartbreak, this book might not have emerged, right? So the wreckage from my past is now my greatest asset, I say. And the same with you, right? Like you took an experience, and I'm sure you probably had some moments like we deal with it, whether you drank or did whatever you did, but through your healing process, you put pen to paper. And that's the biggest and heaviest, that's the longest marathon I believe that anyone can ever do is pen to paper. It's the heaviest weight I ever had to lift. Toughest thing I ever had to do, man. But now you have this book of just complete vulnerability, whereas it's like, I know the breakup was hard, but at the same time, it's like, thank you in a weird way for that breakup.
Well, so the dedication is literally to my ex.
Yeah.
I literally wrote it there because, you know what? While breakups suck, it showed me something I would have never have had.
Right.
She showed me a feeling and emotion I've never had in my, 34 years of life.
Yeah.
And then also, she showed me the good side of that, but she also showed me the bad side.
Mm-hmm.
Like the heartbreak I felt was terrible.
Yeah, it's grueling.
You know what I mean? It's grueling, but I use that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, maybe she wasn't meant to be in my life to be my person. No, maybe she was meant to open up these new feelings so that I could know what it feels like, and I can help others on their journey with this as well. Because
but also help yourself for like your next relationship. Like I think you learned a lot of things about yourself by this one ending that you can now use those tools in your next.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Everything's a learning opportunity.
Everything is.
If we look at it that way.
If you have the right perspective.
Right. And I believe that people, like you said, they're put into our lives to teach us a lesson. And sometimes we think that that's a very bad lesson, but look what comes out of it. Like everything is perspective, man. Everything. 100%. It's how you look at it. It's like I embrace challenges today and I never used to before because I have the confidence now to say like, oh yeah, you want to do it? Let's go. I'm kind of the type of guy where I'm so stubborn where it's just like, oh, you're going to tell me that I'm going to fucking fail again? Let's go. And it's not out of
Mike,
spite.
We're aligned, man.
It's just like, I'm saying this to Mike.
No,
like,
100%.
let's go, buddy. Like,
when people doubt me, So we had, again, this couple we had on had become good friends with one of the guy.
Yeah.
And we're talking about this marathon. I'm not really training. Like, I'm just like, I'm winging it.
Ricky's like kind of like an alien like that. Will be like, hey, yeah, I'm running a marathon.
You know, I ran into you the next day.
Let me
like,
go
are
out
you nuts?
3 days before the marathon.
I know,
and
that's what he
like
said.
Like, I went out
fill
the
my
night before.
schedule up, not train at all, and just do it.
And I'll do it. If I say I'm going to do something,
Yeah.
I don't think it's like, oh, am I going to do it? It's like, no, it's already done. So I said I'm going to run a marathon. I know it's in my head. It's done. Cool. Goal's already crushed. A month before that I run it, I've already know I've done it.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, once I've been to the pits and the bottoms of like mental shititude. Now that I'm at like one of the best places mentally, there's nobody that can tell me anything else than like once it's in my mind, consider it done.
Yeah.
I said I was gonna write a book. It kind of just randomly happened. 2 months later, 2.5 months later, the book's fucking done.
Yeah, that's wild.
4 or 5 months later, the book's written and published.
Yeah.
You know, like, what the fuck? Like, if I would have told myself in February I was writing a book this year, I'd be like, that's not on the goal list.
Yeah.
And here I am. You know, might be going on a little book tour soon. Like, there's so many things, and it's because I'm in one of the best places mentally. And I've trained my mind and my body so well that, like, people ask, how do you not get sick? You went out Wednesday night, Friday night, and Saturday night. You were up till 1 a.m. before running a marathon at 7. What? And I'm like, yeah. How'd you not get sick? I treat my body and my mind very fucking well.
Yeah.
And it's because of that. I don't want to say I'm unstoppable. That's not the right word, but holy fuck, yeah, I'm basically unstoppable at this point.
Yeah, and I
hate tooting my own horn like this, but I don't give a fuck because the shit I've done in the last month is more than people do in a year.
There's a huge difference between cockiness and confidence, right? And
make sure I tiptoe that.
Yeah, and there's a fine line at times, right? But it's the moment I think that once you accomplish something, you think you're better than, that's cockiness. The confidence is, hey, I'm in a position now, like you did, is like I want to show other people, right? Like I'm a big believer on like build the best version of yourself in whatever that looks like, but then give that away. Help other people, like mentoring, right? Like gatekeeping, I'm just not a fan of.
Oh, for sure.
I'm just like community, man.
I want to go back to one thing you said about perspective. I saw a TikTok about a girl. She goes, I just want to show you how much perspective changes your mind and your attitude. And she made a video at the beginning of the morning where it's like, oh, I have to go to work today. And then after that, I have to walk my dog. And then, oh, I'm just like so annoyed because we got family dinner tonight and I got to drive through traffic to get there. And then it's her at the end of this. She's like, I'm so happy I got to work with a fulfilling job that I love. And then I got to take this dog who's been a companion of mine for so long on this beautiful walk. And we had sun shining. And then I was so fortunate enough that I got to have dinner with my parents who, I don't know how many times I'm going to be able to have this. And then I got to relax and spend my evening with a glass of wine, reading a good book or something. I can't remember the exact one. But you just see the difference.
Yeah.
The I have to versus I get to.
I get to, yeah.
Like, oh, I'm annoyed. I have to do this. It's like, yo, I get to go to work every day. Like, I get to do something that allows me to have the opportunities that I have. I get to do this podcast every day where I get to meet cool people and talk to them. It's not, oh, fuck, I have to record this because we need an episode this week. It's like, no, I'm fortunate enough that we are lucky enough to be able to do this each and every week.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you can't serve self-pity and gratitude at the same time. Like it's
Ooh, I like that.
You know, like it's called self-pity. It's selfishness. It's poor me. It's and I don't want to go as far as like, yes, people are victims, but that victim mentality, it's like, okay, well, what are you changing? Right? Because whatever, it's a choice if you're changing it or not. You know, like, oh, I have to go to this job. Okay, well, change it. Oh, I can't. Why? Right? So again, like
back to the idea of like, one of my moms says you have to do something.
Right.
Why again? Why do I have to do that?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not a child. I don't have to follow yours. I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the X, Y, and Z because that's what I want to do. And there's that famous line where it's like, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink it.
100%. Yeah.
It's like, if somebody wants to be a victim, if someone wants to, drown in self-pity and self-shame, there's nothing you can do.
No, and
Like,
who are we to rob them of that journey? You need that right now, maybe.
But if some people went to you maybe a year ago and was like, yo, Mike, you need to change your life around. Like, this isn't working. Nobody was going to say anything to help you change. It had to be you. You had to look in the mirror and say, fuck, I'm at my metaphorical rock bottom. I need to do something.
Because when we attach something to I'll do it only if, right? Like as humans, we work with something in return, right? Like humans, I hate to say it, but we're selfish and self-centered people.
Oh, 100%.
It's just the way that we're wired, right? And the way that society is success is defined by your status, right? Your job title, what you drive, what you wear and whatnot. But there's so many different pies to success as well too, right? So, but yeah, man, no, for me, it's, you can't do it for anybody but yourself. I had family members plead with me. I had good friends be like, bro, like, I'll get really deep for a moment. I mean, there was moments there and I took action on it. I didn't want to be here anymore. I just thought that it would be better, because I just couldn't get any traction. And then when I did, it was just like, it's different this time.
No, but it's those days where you feel like you just can't get a fucking victory.
Yeah.
Those days where it's like, no matter what I'm doing, I can't make anybody happy. I can't do anything proper for myself. Like, man, a lot of people listening to this will know that feeling. Mm-hmm. Those days where you just, like, you're just like, fuck God, give me something. Give me a little victory.
But if we, I think we assume, like, we make these victories out to be, like, massive. Like, oh, when I get to the gym, I got to do, bench press my max. No, like you said, you're hungover, but you made it.
You made it.
So for me, I do something called stack the wins every single day, and I check it off. Did I get up at 5 a.m.? Win, right? So it's like I'm filling my spiritual bank, man. Hey, man, I got up at 5 a.m. That's a win. So by 6:30, and I've done all this stuff, and now I write my gratitude list. I'm like, shit, dude. Like, I'm not hungover today. Like, I'm not.
I woke up early,
staring out my window.
I got my steps in.
Yeah, I got my steps in. Like, my dog's taken care of. Like, it's just, you can't help but not have gratitude, right? It's like, gratitude isn't sitting on a couch saying I'm grateful. You know what gratitude is? Gratitude is action. My favorite saying is, don't listen to what people say. Watch what they do. And I love that, because action is everything, man. It's everything.
100%.
Sorry, am I like talking to
No,
mirrors the same language?
She's thinking.
This is literally something he would, like, he says this stuff.
Yeah.
Even like one of my poems is like very similar to what you just said.
We have these conversations
yeah,
like often.
that's awesome.
I think any day, like, people think, oh, like, I need to have an amazing day today. Have a fucking 0 out of 10 day and then tell me you need a 10 out of 10. No, when you have a 0. So again, when I suffered from depression, I remember being just miserable. I didn't want to get out of bed. And I was never, suicidal or anything. But there was days where I was just like, I hope I don't wake up today. And I'd be okay with that. I'd be okay. My life's been good enough. I've done enough stuff. I'm okay not waking up today. And when you hit that point in life, like, I remember being jealous of like a homeless guy once. I'm like, nobody needs him. Nobody's calling him. Nobody's bothering him. He just sits there, makes enough money to eat and get his drugs, and he's chilling. I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking? So it's like, when you're at a fucking rock bottom, when you're at a 0 out of 10, I didn't care. I didn't need a 10 out of 10. I just wanted a 5. I wanted a normal fucking day. And now I look back, any day that's a normal day to me is a fucking win.
Yeah.
Nothing bad happened. Nobody got sick. Nobody got died. Nobody's diagnosed with a fucking life-ending disease. I didn't fucking lose a limb today. Like, as long as nothing really bad happens, I'm having a fucking great day.
Well, I'm actually thinking about today, like, just thinking about this in the car before, because got to work an hour early today, got a lot of stuff done I had to do at work, but the weather was gloomy and it was making me in a fucking miserable mood. And I was like, I'm just ready for this day to be done. Kept going, I'm like, we're having fun at work, like, things were good. Left the office, called my friend. I'm like, how are you? She's like, good. She's like, how are you? How was work? I was like, you know what? Actually, it wasn't bad. Like, I've actually had a good day. Like, I thought it was the worst day ever. Then I looked back on it. I said, I got all my shit done. And
Check.
Got there early. They got my alone time there too at the office to kind of get things done. Like, it's a good day. It's not a bad day. Nothing bad happened.
Any day that's not a bad day is a good day. I feel like that's a fucking Pitbull line in a movie or in a song or something. I'm going to see Pitbull this weekend in concert. So I've been listening to a couple too much Pitbull.
Mr. Worldwide, eh?
Yeah, man.
No, it is, but I try not to have expectations today, because expectations, they can lead to resentments as well too. And then it turns into selfishness. It's like, well, why didn't that happen for me? Well, it just is.
Sometimes you can't control everything.
You can't control anything. Like trust and faith to me is everything today. And leaning on that in the process is very difficult at times, right? Because it's, it's a biblical term, but it's like, our way, God's way, man. And that's just the way that it is, right? So it just is, man.
What's we're nearing the end, but I want to ask, what's something you would tell your younger self?
Oh my God, man. You know what? I had a feeling you were going to hit me with like some sort of ending question. And I was like, what's something that I would tell my younger self?
Like maybe not even younger, but just like Mikey 5 years ago.
I honestly would say it's truly okay to just be yourself. Yeah, man. Because like my tattoos, a lot of them, like this is probably one of my favorite ones. It's an angel with a blindfold on it. And it's like, who are you? Or who would you be if the world was blind? Or who would you impress if the world was blind? Right? Because I believe that we all wear these social masks. So like my job isn't me. Right? Like that's not my identity. It's not like, okay, some people may think I look cool, whatever. Like, great, that's awesome. But it's just like who I am as a person and how I treat myself today and treat others. Like it was something that I was so afraid to do and to be, like it's my personal development. When I just came up with a name, and I had a clothing line behind it. It was called True You Society. Imagine a society where everybody was just their true selves. Like that'd be impactful. And I believe that we get stopped on a road because we're not being authentic. We're not being our true self. So for me, for King Street, that's fine. I'm not judging that people go out and they do that. But I had created a character and that's what it was. So the character is like they say depression is like a decompression from the person that you're that you're acting like you just need to be yourself, man. So
one final question, if I'm going to ask you, so we talked about wearing masks and being true to yourself. So how would you describe yourself? Who is Mike?
It's a loaded question, man. I mean, I could say that today, one of the biggest gifts, obviously, that recovery, sobriety, this journey has given me is the act of self-love. I love who I am today, and I can say that with a smile. But who am I? I mean, I'm a son again today. I'm an uncle today. I'm going to be a husband. What am I, a fiance? Yeah. I don't know if there was vice versa for guys or girls. No, man. I mean, those are always difficult questions, I find, because I'm not going to be this version in 6 months from now. I think I will always have my values, but I believe as we mature, as we grow, as we learn, values aren't set in stone. I think you have your core values. So who am I as a person today is just, I'm a loving, compassionate person that doesn't judge, man. Like that's the biggest thing. It's like you talk about perception and perspective. When I see a homeless person, when I see an addict, as people call them, I don't see a waste on society. I see somebody that has a huge future, but they're in so much pain right now and they don't know how to get out of it. It's some people see a drug addict like, hey man, like that, I wasn't far from that. So all I pray for every day is just to continue to be my authentic self. That's all that I want, man.
And that's all you can really ask for.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. Because I just spent so much time just
wearing that mask
and just running away from myself, right?
Anything else from you? Mike, I genuinely really appreciate you opening up, man. This was a fucking great conversation.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. And it's, you know what? It gives hope that like there's other people out there that I always say that speak this language, because when you start this, every single person that goes through a transition, it's inevitable. You are going to go through a lonely stage. And
100%.
That lonely stage is very painful, but just know that there's a huge community out there of people that, are open to change, that are open to growth, that want to reach new levels, man. So this was honestly amazing. I've been watching this podcast for years, and I mean, respect you guys, and I mean,
Appreciate
I follow
you,
your journey, dude. So it's awesome. So
No, I
thanks
love
for
this.
being the vulnerable gangsta.
Matt, fucking love that. Mike, if people want to find out more about you, your coaching, everything you're doing, where can they go? How can they find you?
I'm on Instagram and TikTok, but yeah, it's TrueU_Mike on Instagram. That's kind of the main platform that I use. They can DM me or whatever, and my email's attached to all that stuff as well too.
Perfect. And guys, if you made it to the end of this, we appreciate you. Give Mike a follow, give Danielle a follow, give myself a follow. And we will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Cheers, pals.